What can one person do? That's a really big question, isn't it? What can I do? What can I do that makes a difference? Will anything I do matter? We pastors, we face this question as we struggle with the spiritual and the social prisons that our people are in, and we wonder often, what good really can I do? Not much. I just sit here and listen. Don't know what to say. Very little that I can do, it seems. I just sit and feel their grief and their fear and their loss. And I know that you face this also, this question of what can I do? I've had no training, I don't know the Bible, I never studied psychology, I get nervous if I have to stand in front of a crowd. I don't know how to do anything about the problems in the world. What can I do? I'm just one person. Well, I don't know the answer to that question, but I do have a story I can tell you. I met Stella a long time ago in the spring of 1981, 36 years ago now, it seems. Stella was about 20 years older than I, meaning that she was at that time still young. She was a nurse at the hospital where I was working as a resident chaplain, and she worked on the pain management unit, which meant that she had helped people who had chronic benign chronic benign pain, which is a pain that isn't going to go away. They're going to have to live with it, and that was her work, to help people learn how to live with these things. She was divorced. She'd escaped an abusive home. She was raising a daughter on her own who was now a high school junior. Stella was a Christian, a Catholic, and although she didn't talk about it too much, what she did do was teach me about the grace of God. Stella was also in training to be a Gestalt therapist, a school of psychology that focuses on the interplay of thought and action. She was serious, but she laughed often and easily, and she couldn't tell a joke, but she found my jokes to be hilarious. How often I would see her clap her hands and throw her head back and laugh and say, "Oh, that's delightful," when something did delight her. I met Stella one morning when the chaplain's supervisor brought her in to talk with us resident chaplains. She talked about how to care for others and about how to be aware of our own need to be loved and cared for, and how our need for that might get in the way of what we are trying to do. I liked Stella right away. She looked to me like somebody I knew, though I couldn't quite place it. And when I told her that, she says, "Everybody tells me that." She had one of those faces, I guess, that just never stands out, but reminds you of someone else. She was no beauty, but her face was open, and she just looked like someone who would understand if you talked to her. Meanwhile, my own life at that time was not holding together very well. My future seemed quite uncertain, as I realized I needed to leave the church I had grown up in. I became kind of untethered in the world. But worst of all was this empty, aching feeling that I was carrying around with me. Something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I was lonely, angry, scared, and too easily depressed. Not many people could see this in me. I hid it well, but Stella saw it. And I went to Stella for therapy, not because I was crazy, but because I hurt inside, and it would have been crazy not to get help. Through a process of several months, I looked into myself and found the past that held my present in bondage. I embraced it until it lost its power over me. Through her work with me, I found some real freedom and some peace, and Stella led and followed me on this journey. And through it all, we managed to maintain a friendship. Her job at the hospital was stressful, and I used to stop by to give her a break from her too serious boss, and also to get a break from the death and disease that I faced as a chaplain working on the cancer unit. We often ate lunch together. We went to parties after work. I introduced her to my wife Judith and to Judith's sister, and they both liked her as well. Stella and I admired each other for our desire to try to enjoy life. And boy, did I need someone to like me. I needed someone who liked me for who I really was and who thought I was delightful. Isn't that a nice thing to say to somebody about someone? I'll have you do that next week. Next week, instead of "I'm thankful for you," I'm going to have you say, "I find you delightful." Within 18 months of my meeting Stella, I was gone, 1,000 miles away, living in Connecticut with my wife and my new baby. But not before my life was profoundly affected and turned around towards life and love and light. I was changed through the power of one person who cared enough about me to let me be myself. She believed in Jesus Christ and tried to love people as Jesus did, and that meant that she was a bright place in my life and in the lives of many others. And it was about 5 years after that I got a call from a friend who gave me terrible news. She said, "Stella has Alzheimer's disease." And I was shocked. I thought it couldn't be. She was only 51 at the time. But as I talked to my friend, I began to realize the depth of the problem. She had lost a lot of weight because she couldn't cook anymore. She seldom went out because she got lost or forgot where she was going. She was in quite a bit of financial trouble because of bills that had been ignored and forgotten. As my friend told me about the extent of Stella's disease, I could feel myself choking up, and I began to think, God, please, don't let this be so. That call came to me late at night, and I woke Judith up and told her, and we both cried and cried. I guess Stella was lucky, I suppose, because she was surrounded by people who cared about her. Her daughter, of course, but mostly just people that she got to know. They helped her get around. They straightened out her finances. They made sure she had something to eat. They helped her keep it together. A lot of people fall through the cracks. As the Alzheimer's disease degenerated, people lose more and more of their memory. They can become unable to care for themselves. And if no one catches them, they fall until they hit the bottom. That didn't happen to Stella. Too many people were happy to pay back the life that she had given to everyone else. By this time now, I was living in Pennsylvania, and I decided that I had to go see her before she forgot me. I called her, and she remembered me, or said she did. But I knew she would slowly fade away, and I wasn't going to let that happen without saying goodbye. I wondered if she wondered, what was the point of all of this? Why try to give my life just to lose it all? What good did I really do? And I wanted to have some answers for those questions. So I got on a plane to Kansas City to go see her. And a bunch of the friends of Stella went out for a celebration at a restaurant. Her daughter had to order for her because she couldn't read anymore. Later that evening, I got a chance to talk with her quietly, and I said, "Stella, you did more good than you'll ever know. You touched my life. You brought healing, strength, and freedom to me. You taught me more about the love of Christ than all those years of preaching I sat under ever did. You taught me about grace. Now I have the strength to touch others and pass on the gift that you gave me, and I will pass it on. Those people, I hope, will pass it on too. And one day, maybe one day, something more wonderful than we could ever imagine will blossom out of this. What you did matter, and it will last forever. Thank you, Stella." Less than a year later, Stella was gone. And what can one person do? God only knows. What I do know is this, that the ripples of Stella's good life have touched the shore of your life as well. Because she was faithful to the call of Christ to offer grace to others, I have been able to offer grace to you, and now you have it to offer to someone else. Without Stella's influence, I would not be here. Maybe God would have sent someone else to me. Maybe God would have sent another teacher who would help me understand grace. Maybe God would have found a way to help me understand that love is given, not earned, and that I can receive God's grace and give God's grace. Who knows, maybe I would have ended up here still anyhow, but I do know this. Stella lived out God's grace, and it changed me. And I pray that I have sent ripples of my own out into this world, and I hope they have touched you. I would be sorry to think that I had not passed on the gift that Stella gave me, that she received from God. So when that great day of judgment comes, and Jesus sits on the judgment throne and separates the goats from the sheep, I have hope that I will be among the sheep on the right. And Jesus will say, "Come, you are blessed, because I was hungry and you fed me. I was a stranger and you took me in, and he will number me among those who showed compassion. What can one person do? One person can act with kindness. And your kindness sends out ripples, and it touches the people around you, and it ascends to the throne of Christ to touch the one who loved us enough to give his life for us and to teach us to love one another. Amen.
You've been listening to a sermon by Reverend Stephen Carnahan, pastor of High Street Congregational Church in Auburn, Maine. If you feel inspired by what you hear, you're invited to join us in person for worship services every Sunday morning, starting at 10 o'clock. Of course, you can always listen to Steve's sermons on the web. New sermons are posted every Monday by midday. Please explore this website for more information about our church, or visit our Facebook page at High Street Congregational Church, UCC, where you'll find the video version of Steve's sermons as well. We hope that God's presence will be known to you every hour of every day. May God's blessings rest upon you now and always. See you next week.